Welcome to the Cincy Postcast. I'm Kevin Wallace, and before we get started with today's episode, I'll tell you about our friends over at Streetside Brewery, who are about to celebrate their 9th birthday. How exciting is that? The best brewery in the city, celebrating 9 years in operation. And man, it doesn't get better than that. That is so cool. They are located at 4003 Eastern Avenue from the Columbia Tusculum East End neighborhood. It is a cool spot. You got to go check them out. And that 9th birthday party is happening on September 27th. That is Saturday. And guess what? It's happening all day. They're kicking off at 10 a.m. They are going late. There is music. There are special edition beers. There are barrel-aged beers, collaboration beers. There's live music. There's delicious food. It is a good time. You are not going to want to miss this. So go check them out. They are our good friends. They have made so many of these episodes, this whole thing possible. So go celebrate them. Go check that out. It is a cool spot. Absolutely love our friends over at Streetside. So a huge thank you to Streetside for sponsoring this episode. And thank you, listener, for supporting Streetside as well. And on today's episode, well, there's not a lot of FC Cincinnati news, okay? But there's a little bit. FC Cincinnati got a new player, okay? You didn't know that. Maybe you did know that, but we talk about it if you did know about it. And if you didn't know about it, you're going to learn something new. How exciting is that? There's a little discussion about Euro snobbery to start the episode off. And then later on, we do get around to previewing the Orlando match this weekend. This is going to be a fun one. This is home stretch of the season. Sunday night soccer. The eyes of the MLS world will be upon FC Cincinnati hosting Orlando. What is going to happen? Who is going to line up in this one? We got it all for you in this lovely little episode of the Postcast. Joining me to talk about all of that and more, I am joined by the one and only Grayson. Grayson, are you at all worried, like I am worried, that Chief may come back from his adventures overseas as a full-blown Euro snob, throwing our entire MLS endeavor into question?
That's a good question. It's possible, right?
Yeah.
But I think the term Euro snob is giving them too much credit.
Ooh, okay.
When I was in France recently, so like you hear about like Euro snob, people are like, oh, well, it's because, they just watch European football because it's the best.
Sure.
And they call it football, which is its name.
Footy.
It's the only kind of name for it. Football, footy. It's the right thing to say. And they have like just the purest tactics. They have the best players. Yes. They have pro rel. It's and people, and they look down on us. They think, oh, those Americans who watch MLS, they watch an inferior product and they just don't know the game,
Yes.
And when I was there, when I was in France, it was during international break. Okay. So there was no, let's call it soccer on.
Okay.
But what was on was one rugby, which fine.
Sure.
Okay.
France likes rugby. It's a sort of underrated rugby nation.
Yeah. Quite a good one. In fact, as far as I know, I don't know the rules or how scores kept, but I have heard of France as a rugby country, so I understand that it's good at it. I can't possibly know why you would bother, but that's another conversation. But you know what else they had?
What's that?
Eurobasket.
Oh,
You can't be telling me that you only watch like the best version of a sport.
Yes.
And I put on the TV and it's like Olympiacos basketball.
What's great about that too is it throws all of those like ideas into question, because it's my understanding that by and large, and I do not know the ins and outs of European basketball league structure. I know that there are national leagues, but I also know that there is a sort of quasi super league.
There's Eurobasket, yeah.
Yeah, which is different than Champions League for basketball. But basically, there is a super league with no pro rel in European basketball, which is, for all intents and purposes,
the NBA is trying to like make it even more so.
Yeah,
right?
There's like a third thing showing up, and is it better to be associated?
I think like Barcelona and Real Madrid have like decided that they're going to join what the NBA's like European Super League that they start. And well, here's the thing, okay? You cannot put Eurobasket on TV.
Yeah.
And then tell me that I can't watch MLS or that it's like not real or whatever. And I use Eurobasket in the sense of like literally any professional European basketball.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay. I've not watched a lot of European basketball.
Right.
So I'm not a European basketball knower. Okay.
As a UC basketball fan, I'm aware of a lot of European basketball. Okay.
I have been on Wikipedia pages of a lot of European basketball teams because I do occasionally remember some guys.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, it's great.
I remember guys who like played for Ohio State basketball over the years.
Yep.
And see like, okay, well, like where did they play or whatever, you know? I'm aware of some University of Cincinnati basketball players.
Yep.
I know that like Pete Michael played for Barcelona, I think.
Oh.
And won some like European championships or whatever with Barcelona.
Yeah.
And like if you want a comparison, I'm sorry. Evander is better at soccer than Pete Michael is at basketball.
Right.
Okay.
And like Barcelona and Real Madrid are like the best of Europe.
Like no shade for sure. Like I love that these guys go over there and they make some money and whatever.
Sure.
But I always like look at random European leagues and like click on the teams and just like see who the Americans are.
Yeah.
And like so often it's just a guy from like a school you never heard of.
Right.
You know? And again, like I love that these guys get to go over there and make some money. But you can't put this on TV and then tell me that like I can't watch MLS or whatever, or like MLS is a joke.
The MLS thing too is funny because sort of the ideal Euro snob would tell you that Europe is better because the passion is better, because fans support their local teams no matter what, that they ride the ups and downs of promotion and relegation. And even though the team isn't exactly what they may want, it's associated with their community. And so they support it. And then in the same breath will go, but I don't go to the MLS team down the street from me because it's not good enough. It's like, man, you're the guy who's not following the Premier League team after it got relegated, and you're just going to become the Arsenal or Manchester City fan. Like, you're the worst.
It's crazy. It's crazy to me. Like, you're not seeing like, yeah, there have been some like big stars who did a cup of coffee in like China or whatever in basketball. But, you know, like Barcelona basketball is not getting Russell Westbrook.
Yeah. See,
you know,
I don't know enough
but
about
Human
that.
Son plays at LAFC.
Right. Like, I don't know enough about the basketball side of this, but it doesn't feel like we go, oh, Russell Westbrook retired, but actually he had like 5 good years in Greece. Like,
yeah, no, like the high paid foreigners that we get in soccer.
Yeah.
And we get lots of like lower paid foreigners for sure. But the high paid foreigners we get are better at soccer than the top quality Americans that go play in Europe.
Yeah.
In basketball. Not than the top quality Americans to go play soccer in Europe.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
Sometimes, they get our best?
Like Human Son is like still better than any American we have playing in Europe.
Yeah, right. In general, probably the best Americans are in Europe, but not entirely. But yes.
Right, but there are a few like non-American players in MLS who are better than any American playing in Europe.
Yes. You also, it's like, it's just like the quality, right? Of like, this player is playing in MLS and could easily have been somewhere else in Europe. Yeah. And
well, there's also like, there's nobody on Barcelona basketball who's not American who is better than any non-American in the NBA.
Yes, I'd agree with that. Probably even true if you take the American piece out of it, but I am willing to discount I think
it's possible there's some like top like players on Barcelona who are better than like some bottom tier Americans who were like, you know,
sure,
team, like lower level draft picks or bench players in the NBA, right? Like there's going to be some overlap where it's like a perfectly efficient system.
Fair.
But like if there's a foreigner, we've already got him.
Yeah.
like there's not a player on Barcelona who's better than like, you know, Giannis or Jokic or whoever or Doncic or whatever.
Right. What probably helps here as well, which I find interesting, is that even with that, like the pay in the NBA is so massive. Like the worst NBA players are making insane amounts of money. So it's not even a question. If you have the NBA offer, you don't go, oh, well, I could start for Real Madrid. No. You're taking the payday the second it's extended to you. But also like the number of playing opportunities across both the sports is interesting because you have a similar number sort of in the ratio, right? So like the roster sizes in MLS are much larger than NBA, but you still have the same number of MLS teams, roughly similar number of NBA teams. But in Europe, you still have a smaller number of basketball teams. So it's such a massive number of soccer teams, which would, to me, suggest that you shouldn't see the best European-based talent come to the U.S. They should just move around Europe more. But that's not the case, which would suggest that the United States is on some level parity with the highest tiers of Europe. Like, imagine if MLS was not nearly as good as, like, I don't know, Turkish football.
Turkish football, yeah.
Like, Song Min-hyun is not coming to the U.S. Like, that's just not happening here. So, the money is not necessarily.
Well, it
so
did
massive.
Used to be like that player would have gone to Turkey.
Right. And you still see that a little bit.
It still happens, but like 5-6 years ago, that player always goes to Turkey.
Right. And now, not so much. Or even the sort of like working your way down the sort of totem pole, right? Like you were at the big 4, the big 6, and now you're at a mid-table club. Now you're at a relegation candidate, you know, et cetera. Not quite what you have to do these days. So, So hopefully Chief comes back that way because it would make for better content, I think, for all of us to argue.
Yeah. Speaking of like arguing and stuff, I do have a complaint.
Oh, okay.
So every time we record an episode, okay, we get text messages, we get Discord messages or whatever.
Yeah.
And people are like, "Oh, you didn't mention this thing in the game."
Yeah.
Or like Kevin said this thing and you guys didn't correct him and it was wrong.
Yeah, right.
Fair. Okay. And I just want to say, like, first of all, like look, you guys have no idea how hard this is. Okay?
Yes.
You don't know what's happening in anybody's life. You don't know how anybody's day has been.
Oh, so true.
And so, like, don't assume just because one of us said something and the others didn't, like, correct it or argue it, that everybody agreed.
Yeah.
In fact, assume that unless you hear, like, an express agreement, that there was violent disagreement, but it was kept inside.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Because, man, life is tough, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you like live your whole life and then you got to like come on here and you got to like be on all the time. You got to be correct all the time. Man, you guys have no idea. It's one of the hardest things a person could possibly do.
Yeah. I mean, we saw recently, like, the vice president had to step in and host a podcast. Like,
yeah,
they don't give that job to just anybody.
The government is like we have such a hard time with, like, you know, our coworkers, let's say, other people that host things. It's so hard out here that the government has had to, like, step in and tell people how to do it.
Right. And it's a government largely, particularly on the law enforcement side, like largely run by podcasters now.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's overtaxed. And like, I agree. Like, definitely, like, the people doing the hardest jobs are the people who should be running law enforcement. And by the hardest jobs, I mean podcasting,
right?
Okay.
And that's also why you got to give them grace, because you are demanding, you are, if you're listening to this, you are demanding that they entertain you for hours on end. They're going to just make stuff up sometimes. Okay. That's going to go with that. And that's why you got to give them grace when they get things wrong. Cause you don't know what's a bit or what's, you know, just wrong in the mix.
Or they're going to, like, say something and, you know, they had words in their head that came out of their mouth a different way that meant a different thing.
Yeah.
That's an accident. Okay?
Accidents happen.
And really, honestly, like, if it sounds ridiculous to you, the words that came out, you should maybe look inward and think, like, well, was it fair of me to assume that they said something ridiculous, or should I have thought about it and said, oh, they probably meant this other thing that makes more sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Right? I think it's really important to interpret whatever you hear into what you wanted to hear, or maybe what you even should have heard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's, like, on you. You know, you got to be, like, a bit media savvy. You got to be kind of an active listener.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not really my responsibility to make this thing make sense to you.
True.
I can't control how you feel.
Yeah.
I can't make you understand things either how I said or meant them or how they should have been interpreted.
Yeah.
Like, none of that's my responsibility.
Yeah. Grace, I think you'd back me up on this. I think we subscribe to the idea that I believe is known as kill the author, which is like
not literally in this climate.
Okay. Okay. But what I'm trying to say is once the piece of media has been released into the world, what it means and how it impacts you is entirely on you at that point.
It's your choice and responsibility.
Yes.
Okay. So, like, frankly, when you come onto like the Discord or in my text messages and like tell us stuff, you're cheating yourself.
Right. Yeah.
You're not growing. You're not taking responsibility for like your own literacy.
Correct.
Right. And so I just, if there's one thing that I started doing this podcast for, it was to help the FC Cincinnati fan base grow as like savvy media consumers.
Yeah.
And when you guys do stuff like that, it makes me feel like we failed.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're making me feel unsafe in a way.
Right.
And that's your responsibility. That's your fault.
Yeah.
You know, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. I mean, words are violence. And I think
certainly
that absolutely comes through when people are deliberately subverting the goal of everything that we're doing.
When I'm seeing your messages and your text messages, I'm usually downtown.
Okay.
And it makes me feel unsafe downtown.
Oh, that's it. Yep.
And nobody should feel unsafe downtown in their own city, in their home. It's basically my house.
I have an idea.
It's basically you invading my house.
Yes.
And, you know,
castle,
like,
even if I could throw the word
I would
castle
invoke
out
castle
there.
Doctrine.
Yes.
Right? Like it's basically a home invasion.
Yes.
And in which case I'm within my rights to defend myself.
Yes. I would say you have to. You have to defend
You have a
yourself.
responsibility to yourself and your family.
Yeah.
As a man, as an American.
Absolutely. This did give me a policy proposal idea, though, Grayson. I'm curious what your thoughts would be on this. We ban cell service after 9 p.m. downtown. I can see literally no downsides.
I can't believe we haven't already done that.
Yeah. Wi-Fi is fine, but cell service has got to go after 9 p.m. We'll turn it back on at like 5 a.m. I'm fine with that.
And then you say like, well, how are we going to like call an Uber or something?
Yeah.
Well, Kevin said Wi-Fi is okay.
Yeah.
In South by Southwest, they gave unhoused people little hotspots.
They did. You could tip,
and so
via
we'll
Venmo.
And you can pay an unhoused person.
I cannot believe they did that.
Oh, we live in the best country in the world.
Tech bros solve homelessness. We're gonna put Wi-Fi routers in backpacks. So basically, if we said anything wrong, it's your fault, and we will stand our ground. I think is the long and short of it.
I think so. There was some FC Cincinnati news this week.
I think it's just new. You cannot plural it. It's just new.
Yeah, there is new. There was FC Cincinnati new this week. Kevin, why don't you dig into it?
So this started off as like the most Twitter rumor of all Twitter rumors. It does appear to have been picked up by slightly more robust outlets, or at least verifiable people. But the story is New York Red Bull Academy product 2008 striker Jack Mize is how we're choosing to pronounce this. Mize.
Jack Von Mies.
Jack Mies?
Related to Ludwig von Mies.
Yes. And he has been in Dortmund for a while. However,
3 years.
It looks like he is headed to FC Cincinnati. It looks like he did not catch on there in Dortmund. I would have assumed he had a couple of options out there, having been in the Red Bull and then Dortmund academies. Those are generally well-regarded academies.
He's been in U.S. youth national teams at the U16 and U17 levels, so he's not an unknown or unregarded commodity.
Yeah. So, was a bit of a hyped prospect at his time. I don't know if that's just because he was at Dortmund or not. But yeah, obviously involvement with the youth national teams speaks highly of him, especially in a time and place when so many of those youth national teams are dominated by MLS Academy players. He did come up through the Red Bull system a little bit there. But yeah, Grayson, what do we make of a move like this? And how many years do I have to wait before I choose to give him the Dado treatment?
Yeah, it's a little tempting to get excited.
Yeah.
Right? Because the story came out and they're like, oh, well, he's going to be on the MLS Next Pro team in 2026. And the first team has an option to sign him to a senior contract, Right. And, I also say the senior team has an option to sign me as a senior player.
Always an option.
It's always an option. So I don't really know what to make of that part of it, but I'm pro the academy bringing in guys that they think might be good.
Yeah.
And this guy's got some pedigree. I feel like if he was like a Pulisic at 17, he wouldn't be leaving the Dortmund Academy because Pulisic at 17 was getting first team appearances at Dortmund. But that doesn't mean he's not like a pro quality. It doesn't mean he was not going to pan out. Right.
Right.
And so my general philosophy is like not to get like overly pumped about like academy guys coming in, but the more the merrier.
Yeah.
Like the more decent prospects they bring into the academy, the more likely they're going to have some guys pan out. I like that we're getting a perception of like kind of a aggressive recruiting academy. And I think that we're probably still at a place where that we kind of have to be an aggressive recruiting academy, because if you really want to develop, you got to get them younger, and our academy is still not mature enough to have like pure like homegrowns, like from like the under 10 ages, developing into pros. Like I'm excited for the prospect of purely homegrown players starring for FC Cincinnati. But I think we're probably still a few years away from that. And so if the academy is going to be aggressive, it's going to have to be aggressive at recruiting players and players who are going to be staying at house stays and stuff. And so like I think this is great. It can only be good. If he never plays for the first team, who cares?
Right. I couldn't tell you the name of another player at that age in the FC Cincinnati Academy system who hasn't signed a first team contract. You know what I mean? Like I don't know who the U16 players are for FC Cincinnati or anything like that. I
think it's a little odd. I think it's a little odd when guys are too knowledgeable about players in the 15-year-old or 16-year-old age group. It feels like best case a waste of time.
It's like being up to date with the best middle school football players in the country. Sure, a couple of guys you've heard of may go on to be decent college athletes. Maybe a pro is in there, but so many of the people that you're going to know are not going anywhere. their parents are going to make them quit in a couple of years.
And one of the things that I think is a sign of how immature the United States is still as a soccer country is how many players on like the 17s and the 20s national teams end up significant players for the senior national team.
Yes.
Like if you look at like France at the U20 World Cup, they'll have like a couple of guys who become like significant senior players because they have so many players in the age cohort that like, the guys they picked in the 20 World Cup happen to be like a little ahead of everybody, but it's like so big and so competitive that there's going to be a bunch of guys that just bust out.
Right.
And with the US, it's like, no, these are just the guys.
Yeah, we got about 40 good players at this age.
they'll either work or we'll suck. and you end up with like the 2018 World Cup.
Yeah. Is that a function of we do a poor job of developing good players, or is that a function of, I got to be careful here, the federations casting a smaller net once they already have fish in their net?
I can't pretend to like have a firm opinion on this, but I suspect it's a little of both.
Yeah.
And that they're not unrelated. And it's that we don't like, there's no way that we adequately scout the very young ages across the entire United States.
Correct. Practically it's impossible.
Every good player that it's not like impossible, but we don't have like the soccer economy and infrastructure. Like we don't pay, solidarity payments to youth teams.
Right.
And like MLS academies are just like where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time we get a good player, honestly, I think it's an accident.
I mean, it's kind of where like it happens, right? Like you'll have moments of like, oh, a couple of good guys came out of the New York Red Bull Academy at the same time. A couple of guys came out of the Philly Academy at the same time. But there isn't such a consistent pattern that makes you go, oh, these guys are really good at creating good players.
Yeah.
Which would suggest that there is not a system in place and it is an accident.
Well, there is a system, but it's like, do you happen to be in the Philly Academy? Like, does the Philly Academy happen to have like good enough players to develop a player of this level? Like the Philly Academy has developed a number of pros.
Yeah.
But what's the best player they've developed?
One of the Aaronsons?
Yeah, probably Brendan Aronson, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the best player that FC Dallas, the other like really good academy, has developed? Chris Richards?
Or do we give them Weston McKennie?
I don't give them Weston McKennie because he spent so much time.
Didn't he play for them?
I think it also is like a question of like how much time did they spend in these academies? Right.
Yedlin is a Seattle Sounders product, but spent most of his time in a pay-for-play academy. Right.
The best player who was, and I could even be wrong about this, but my feeling of the best player who was like purely developed in an MLS academy is Tyler Adams.
I was going to say Tyler Adams, and the Red Bull like center back pipeline there for a little bit was really good, but yeah, like that's kind of it. And since then, has there been like any like standout players? Certainly not that has made the national team.
If you were going to pull out the best 11 for the men's national team, I feel like Tyler Adams and Chris Richards, although I would have to look it up, are the only players who were like fully developed in MLS academies.
I think that is correct. Like Pulisic, I don't ever think spent any time in MLS Academy.
He might have spent like a week with like Philly Union's Academy or something.
Sure.
And like McKennie spent a little time at Dallas, but he like grew up in Germany and then went back to Germany.
Yeah. Do you give Matt Turner's journey anything?
I don't.
Okay.
Certainly not an MLS Academy.
Not an MLS Academy. I'm just trying to think of like...
He's an MLS developed player.
Yeah, because he goes college to like the affiliated team route. So
there's a couple of guys who you might like Pep. Maybe if you put Pepe in your 11, that's an MLS Academy player, right?
Can I really stretch and say Zach Steffen? Wasn't he a Crew Academy guy?
Was he like? No, he wasn't. He was a Crew player, but he was like he played in USL.
I thought he was on
Maryland.
Loan.
He played for Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
I thought he was on loan from Columbus.
He might have been, but he played at Maryland.
He spent a year in the Philly Academy.
Okay, right.
I don't know shit.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the MLS academies are good.
Yeah. They also just haven't been around long enough is part of it. I also think too, a good book that people should read is Das Reboot. I don't know if there's been like an update to this in some time, but Raphael Honigstein did the sort of how the German national team won the 2014 World Cup by completely overhauling its national system from top to bottom to generate that result. And one of the main things they focus on, there's two takeaways. One is Jurgen Klinsmann comes across pretty good in that book. It's very interesting. And then two, they really focused on coaching. They like realized that they did not have enough licensed coaches in Germany to accomplish what they wanted to do. So rather than focusing on scouting better players, they just widen the net and the possibility of creating better coaches. And I think that that is a fascinating approach to this, especially given how difficult it can be to get your coaching license in the US. Like some of the requirements to get those A and B licenses are massive. I think USSF A license, they only accept like a cohort of like 25 students. And they're always like former pros, former national team players, and coaches you have otherwise heard of who maybe had a European A license that they got somewhere else. So it's an interesting conundrum. I will say, if you really want to nitpick the new Academy talent signing, so he's
to be clear, I don't want to nitpick the Academy talent signing.
No. I just want to say, if I'll leave room for the take. He's stealing a spot for a Cincinnati kid. Okay, I'm just throwing it out there.
If there was a Cincinnati kid who was good enough, he would have the spot already.
He would already have the spot. No, and I really do not mind our academy going out and recruiting as much as possible and developing that reputation of being where the best go in the country. I think that that is a good reputation to have. I just would like to see, and it's not anybody's fault or anything, it's just something I'd like to see going forward, is a more established pipeline from the academy to the first team, just to solidify that, because without that, the recruitment will slow down.
Over time, you need to get more academy players into the first team.
Yeah.
Like, that's obviously the goal. It has to be the goal. It has to happen.
Yeah.
And I think you're right that like our academy and like MLS academies writ large are like really too young to be too hard on them for the number of players they've developed.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't want to be hard on the player or the academy. Right.
Right.
But I do think that there is a tendency to like get too invested in like an individual academy talent. And for the most part, like none of us are knowledgeable or enough or close enough to the player or their development or like the age when they would pan out to like have a informed or useful opinion on the player's talent. So like, again, I'm just going back to my original thought. Love them bringing in guys.
Yeah.
You know, I want to have an aggressive academy. I would love for eventually we get to the point where we're like developing, you know, local boys into pros.
Sure.
But the most important thing is just developing pros.
Yes.
Period.
Yes. Yeah. You view them all as basically draft picks, right? Like, not every draft pick's going to hit. You know that going in, but you'd like to see your team hit on more than they miss. And I think doing something like this widens the net. It just, you're increasing your odds of getting a more better player, which is good. And yeah, no, I think that this is a good thing, and things change too. Like guys, go look up like, you know, whatever your favorite superstars are and stuff like that. Like these guys move around in their youth clubs a lot, and a lot of times it's because like they were cut or they were told that like they weren't going to move on to the next stage, and it may just be that youth system or even an individual coach was overvaluing one, you know, talent or trait and undervaluing another. You go across the street and they have the priorities completely flipped and you're the best player they've ever seen. So, I'm rooting for them and all of that jazz. So I don't know. That's, I guess, allow me to square this. I think where my personal love of Dado Valenzuela then factors into this is I view him as a really good player and a young player. And I like that and the idea and the abstract. And I've liked what I've seen with him. Like he passes the eye test for me, which is why I have been advocating for seeing him more. And I certainly play it up of like, we need to see him no matter what in every position, blah, blah, blah. But in general, yeah, like if we've got like a good young player who like looks good and looks like they can do the job, I want to see that player more. And could you always replace every player on the roster with someone better? Yes, I'm not saying you can't, but that's where that love comes from. So I'd like to think they're slightly different, but there you go. Grayson, was there anything else? We said it was FC Cincinnati new. I can't think of a single daggone thing.
I don't think there's anything. We can. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Let's head on over to part 2. Let's look ahead to the Sunday night soccer matchup, and we'll get you out of here. Before we go any further with the episode, I got a quick question for you. You ever heard of the U.S. women's national team? You ever heard of the U.S. men's national team? Well, then you're going to want to keep listening because get this. We have an offer for you are not going to want to miss at the official U.S. soccer shop, which is where you're going to go for all of your U.S. men's and women's national team gear. The Post is going to be able to offer you 10% off any of the merchandise except for jerseys. Okay, let's not get carried away, except for kids. But there is a ton of cool stuff there. Okay, they're doing a new 1993 throwback collection. You got hoodies and beanies for the fall. It's getting chilly, and you're gonna want some of the winter gear because there are matches coming up on 10/10 against Ecuador in Austin or Australia in Commerce City. Believe me, you're going to want a beanie in Commerce City on 10/14 versus Australia. That is for the U.S. men's national team. The women, they play on 10/23 against Portugal in Chester, 10/26 against Portugal in East Hartford. Again, hoodie, beanie weather. And on 10/29 Halloween Eve against New Zealand, Kansas City, Missouri. Use promo code POST. That's all one word, all caps, for 10% off at checkout. This is a very real deal. I don't know how to emphasize that enough. This is a real deal you can use. You can go use the link in the description or use the code at checkout and we will hook you up. So a huge thank you to US Soccer. And I think you're going to have a lot of fun shopping on the official US Soccer shop. All right, Grayson, it is Sunday night soccer for FC Cincinnati. Is this the second Sunday night soccer game or Sunday soccer game at all for FC Cincinnati this season? I can't remember another one.
We had a Sunday game in Leagues Cup.
That'll do it. Okay.
And that might have been the only one.
Was there a
Sunday? I apologize if I don't have a full, perfect recall.
Again, if he's wrong, it is your fault. Was there a Club World Cup game on a Sunday as well? Maybe that's what I'm thinking of as well. But
there was a Club World Cup game on a Sunday, yeah.
There it is. So we get the Sunday night soccer treatment. Andrew Wiebe is at some point going to be roaming the streets of Cincinnati. By all means, direct him to nice, good things. The Post sent him the bucket list challenge. So thank you to everybody who helped contribute to that. You may or may not help him with his itinerary when he gets here. So that'll be good. It sounds like he's going to be at Northern Row for the March to do a sort of television hit of some kind. So go check that out if you're at all interested. Grayson, going into Sunday night soccer, how are we feeling about the matchup and about the team right now?
I think you have to feel good.
Yeah.
The team is coming off of 2 wins. They're coming off of 5 goals in 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
They are mostly healthy, it seems, or they're getting back into health. I would assume that Matt Miazga is not going to be available this weekend because he's missed training so far this week. But, we do have a lot of other players. We have, future designated player Miles Robinson still. And most importantly, I think we have, Brenner, Kevin, and Evander.
Yeah.
And that trio seems like they're going to, I don't know. It seems like they're putting it together, I guess.
They've figured out how to play.
If that trio is still putting it together or is putting it together and is getting better, I think that's the most important thing around the team.
Yeah.
Above any other availability. I think Roman has been back in training, so maybe we'll see him again on Sunday, but that's not a position I'm really worried about.
Yeah. No, not worried about that. Everybody else is largely, like you said, healthy. I guess when looking at the lineup, we'll see what happens with goalkeeper. The position I'm very interested in, and I'm very curious what your opinion is on this, is going to be, who do you start alongside Buka? Is it Gidi? Is it Anunga? I think it's
Gidi.
I
saw enough from him. He put up a lot of stats, and his pass map was pretty progressive.
Mm-hmm.
He covered a lot of progressive distance in the game, and so I think he gives you the most.
Yeah,
and let's give him another start. Maybe it was a fluke. Maybe he can't go a bunch, but
yeah.
Orlando's a good team. I think you want to put a good team out. You want to put out a team that you think is the most able to generate goals for you.
Yeah.
And I think Gidi is on that team over Anunga.
Yeah, my only thought was if Gidi got the start because Anunga was hurt and they still view Anunga higher up on the depth chart, I would agree with you. I'd like to see Gidi again. I'm just trying to think of what Noonan, where he sees this team right now. Not for nothing, Orlando's offense is very potent with Ojeda and Muriel, so maybe you do want a more defensive-minded player there anyway, but I'm just assuming, I don't have any stats, Gidi's probably faster than Anunga. So I think if that is your concern about sticking with runners and not getting beat, maybe Gidi's a better option there anyway, even if you are looking on the defensive side of things. Also, he plays that role, like he does sort of play that hybrid role as an 8. So
yeah, my thought on that is I think I would still prefer Gidi because I think a lot of our problem is with when in games where we've had Anunga or a lot of games he played, period, is we spend a lot of time under siege. And we have like players who can withstand that. And Anunga is one of those players. We have a lot of players who can defend well. We have a lot of players who can win balls. We have a lot of players who can block shots. And, we've been very good at playing that way and not giving up goals. But I think that the better way, and I think that the way the team honestly would prefer to play if it could, is rather than being forced to like break up a lot of plays and block a lot of shots, is just like having the ball more.
Yeah.
Like holding possession more. And I think Gidi is a better player for holding possession.
Yeah.
And I think that was like, I think that was like Pat Noonan's like big criticism of how the team played last weekend is they were going too aggressive, like at goal in the sense of like forcing balls into the box and taking shots from far away and not, being patient and playing with the ball more. And I think we haven't seen a ton of him, but I think Gidi's a better player for that kind of play.
Yeah.
And if Orlando has a very potent attack, I'd feel better having the ball more.
Yeah.
Than just thinking, oh, well, we have very strong defenders and we'll just prevent their attackers from their opponent's attackers from scoring.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. Again, that's how I would approach this as well. Orlando's an interesting team. So last time out, they beat Nashville 3-2. But before that, they drew DC United, lost to LA Galaxy, lost to Miami, and lost 5-1 to Nashville. So they're all over the place. They are a mid-table or not mid-table, but a sort of like mid-playoff position team where a win here could potentially put them into like 4th place, or a loss and they're in the play-in game and fighting to stay in the playoffs. It's a very weird situation right now in the East where only like 3 points separate 8th from 3rd or 4th. So it's wild. So it's hard to make heads or tails out of them. They are a very, like I said, a potent offensive team. They've scored quite a few goals, 58 goals, 11 more than we've scored this year. Only let in 43 to our 39. So on paper, they match up, I think, okay when you're looking at those top line numbers. My last question for you is wingbacks of Orishano on the left, Echenike on the right. Any reason to change that up at this point, or are we settling into this?
That's how I'd roll.
Yeah. That makes sense to me. Like I said on the last episode, I think Markzook makes more sense when you have a target man in there. And so maybe you do switch it up later in the game with Kamara or Jabari and Markzook. But I think without that, Echenique makes more sense there. So there we are. I guess we gotta predict this one, Grayson. Vibes are good. Forecast looks great. Sunday night soccer. Andrew Weeby's going to be in the building, as I assume Taylor Twellman and Jake Zivin will be as well. How do we think this one shakes out?
I'm going 2-1 to the FC.
This would be the perfect game for that weird late in the season game where FC Cincinnati wins like 6-1. We've seen Orlando do this 5 games ago against Nashville. I'm predicting it 5-1. I think we overwhelm them. I think we break their spirits. And I think the vibes are off the charts in TQL Stadium. That is my prediction. That is my hope. That is my dream. We'll see what happens. Also, I'm not entirely sure how we're going to do the podcast on Sunday. So stay tuned on that because that'll be fun. So with that, Grayson, I think we are all done with the FC. Is there anything else that we need to touch on before we run away here?
Fuck Columbus.
The Cincy Postcast is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out online at thepostcincy.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky, Facebook, and Instagram. Twitter and Blue Sky, though, you'll find we're a little more active than the other places. We're also on YouTube, where you can listen to this episode if you aren't listening to it already. We are also putting up video content semi-regularly, including the Away Days series. We want to give a huge thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers for providing the music for this episode. They are a lovely band, and you can find more information out about them in the description of this episode. And if you happen to enjoy what you just heard, can I please ask that you like us, that you rate us on whatever app you're listening to, and maybe more importantly than all of that, share this episode with a friend. When it comes up at work, you're talking about FC Cincinnati, I say, hey, I listened to an FC Cincinnati podcast. I think you guys will like it. It would really, really help us out. Nothing helps a podcast travel more than a good recommendation from a friend, family member. That would be awesome. When it comes to the sorting algorithms that control our lives, a 5-star review would be much appreciated. Also, leaving a sort of written review weirdly does more than that. That's how the algorithms work. So maybe say a nice or a mean thing, whatever. Just as long as you give us 5 stars, that'll really, really, really help us out. And if you are looking for more MLS content, check out our other podcast, The World's Gam. Again, a link will be in the description of this episode. That is where we touch on league-wide storylines and news, and we talk about other games and a couple other teams in there as well. Think you will enjoy it if you are just dipping your toes into Major League Soccer. A huge thank you to all of our sponsors. A even bigger thank you to all of our patrons over at Patreon. But maybe most importantly, thank you for listening to this episode.